What's going on? It's Dapper Don, and I'm excited to welcome you all back. Today, we have a very special guest in the studio. Known for her inspiring, motivational presence in the hoods of Indianapolis and the surrounding states, she aims to be a mentor for our often misguided youth to let them know that there is hope and that they too can have a positive impact on the world. She's worked tirelessly in the school system and consistently engaged with her community through man on the street style interviews to get to the real truth of the lifestyle. Y'all know her, y'all love her, Miss NaShan Clay. Go ahead and tell us about yourself.
So my name is NaShan Clay. I'm from the far east side of Indianapolis, Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up 42nd Post Road, Town and Terrace condominiums, most known for Brentwood. You know, the city know it for Brentwood. It's getting knocked down right now, though. Grew up with my grandma. Typical story you see in the hood. I got a story just like every other kid that I try to come across and help. I
Mm-hmm.
grew up with my grandma. Dad wasn't around. Mama had me at 15. Grandma struggled with drinking, and we grew up poor, poverty, so money was definitely an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I grew up in a messed up environment, crack cocaine, vice lords, gangster disciples, But everybody I grew up with, in my environment, how I grew up, we all grew up. You live there, you grew up there, so it wasn't like outsiders. So we already knew who was from out there for real.
Right, right.
Yeah, so my whole life was on Post Road. That's all I knew until I got older and realized it was more. So yeah, that's really
Post Road is
my
a mess,
story.
let me tell you something.
No, it used to be. It's kind of changing right now. It
They
used to
changing
be.
it up?
Yeah, it's changing. It
Hmm.
ain't nowhere near how it was before.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right. Well, you segue nicely into my first question. So, what drives you to do what you do and kind of go into more detail? And how did you come to understand that, like, it was your purpose? What was that revelation like?
I don't know. I just out of nowhere, 2019, I was in a relationship. During that time, I wasn't living in the city. I was living like an hour away,
Mm-hmm.
and out of nowhere, I just woke up, and it was more so a spiritual journey of me just more so finding Jesus, honestly. And I just started going through just different things, like learning about like angel numbers, and it was very strange. I fasted for like 3 days.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
it was like really, I just randomly fasted for 3 days. I started to like read the Bible. Then like 2020, I went back. 2019, I moved back to the city. 2020, I moved back to Post Road.
Mm-hmm.
And I went back on Brentwood, and 2020 was like the most craziest year on Brentwood. Um, and I got baptized when I was 24 in
Okay.
April. And when I got baptized, I gave my life to Christ at 24 years old. And out of nowhere, that's when I had a passion to change the ghettos, and it started with my own community because I knew that they was about to knock it down before they knocked it down. So
Wow.
I was already aware of it. So I went in over there trying to warn the people, the individuals over there, to change their ways because I knew we was going to be the reason why it was going to get knocked down. And all I knew at that time was the mind. So yeah, and it just 2021, I got into the school systems, and as the year passed, God continued to add more to me, but it came because of God when I gave my life to Christ.
Right. And do you credit that sort of revelation to any influences? Did anybody sort of guide you along that path?
Yeah, a random man named
Wow.
T. 20. It was 20. It was actually the beginning of 2020. Before I got baptized, I met a random man at work named T. He was from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and he just randomly he actually encouraged me to get back in school. Then he encouraged me to get back to go to church, and I was like, "Nah, church is a bad business." But he kept encouraging me and stuff like that. He started teaching me about the Holy Spirit, and then he just started saying like random stuff like, "I'm going to be the one to make change in my neighborhood. That one tree can't make a forest." Um, he said I was going to be a leader. Before I even had all these numbers, before nobody even knew me, he started saying all this stuff. Then he just started saying random stuff like, "Be quiet, let God fight for you. They're gonna apologize," just stuff like that. And I eventually went to church. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't think prayer works. I'm gonna be real honest with you. A lot of people don't think prayer works. But I myself have been in some pretty bad situations where the only thing that could get me out of it was a prayer. So I'm definitely like we on the same wavelength as far as that. Because that
Yeah.
people don't think prayer works. I'm telling you, prayer works. Get
Yeah.
down on your knees and pray. But now that comes into my next question. So, in your life, I know you kind of mentioned you fought some battles.
Yeah, a lot of them.
What kinds of battles fought in your life, and have you fought in your life, and what specific battles motivate you to do what you do now?
Like, are you asking like what is the biggest battle I faced?
The biggest and most influential to like your success.
The biggest battle that I ever faced and got me right here was what I faced inside of the school system.
Mm-hmm.
After that, that's when I blew up. So that was probably the biggest battle that I ever faced.
Right.
So yeah,
And who was at the center of this battle? Was it the school system itself, the faculty, staff, the kids?
it was never the kids. It was I can say inside the school system, was a horrible experience. Honestly, the greatest experience came from the kids,
Mm-hmm.
but the worst experience came from the adults. Because when you inside of the school system, you know, I dealt with adults telling kids that they're going to be dropouts, school shooters. Telling like one of my kids got an A, they telling their dad not to get used to that.
What?
Yeah, it's a lot going on inside the school system. But eventually, I faced a situation with an individual where my image was damaged and I was kind of lied on.
Mm-hmm.
I did try to fight it, but at the same time, it goes back to what that man T said when he was like, "Be quiet and let God fight for you."
Yep.
So I have learned to be quiet and allow God to
Right.
at His perfect time and show that I was always telling the truth. So yeah, that situation I faced inside the school system got me put out of the school system, and my image was damaged. I lost connection with a lot of kids, and during that time, it was probably my darkest time I ever faced in my life. It was actually worse than losing my grandma, and she raised me. And during that time, out of nowhere, I just blew up. So, and
Right.
I became very mature too. So, yeah,
Well, I can definitely get that vibe off of you. You're one of those people that talks little, does much.
yeah,
We need more people like that in the world. I talk way too much, but you can be the one that does it. But in so to kind of add to that, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned like sort of like those. Can you name like any specific instances that really like pissed you off in the school system? Like any specific instances
yeah, that one, and
where they
how,
relied on, where you
yeah,
relied on?
yeah, and how teachers were allowed to mistreat kids and still stay in their positions.
Yep, and I've been hearing about a lot of that.
Yeah.
Teachers getting out of control.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's not the kids, it's the teachers. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they always say, we need teachers need to be paid more. Why would you want to pay people who are telling kids that come from broken environments that they ain't gonna be nothing? They don't need to be paid more.
No,
Yeah,
not if they doing that.
they don't.
It's like you telling somebody that don't even want to do their job half the
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Right. Okay. Well, and I want to ask this, like, and I kind of just want to, like, kind of take a trip with me. Let's just say that after today, you disappeared. What message would you want to leave out there in the world? What's the most pertinent message you would want to leave out there?
Well, if I just disappear today, hopefully I don't.
You.
But my message will mostly impact the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody kids that I came across. They would know that I want them to be more in life, to succeed, overcome, not going to jail, not dying to the gun, and staying away from the streets, just doing the right thing, being who I taught them to be and want them to be.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm away from kids now, certain kids they know that it's already a message in their head who I want them to be because I already planted that seed. So that's really the message I would want them to do and learn and know that um, at the end of the day, if they ever, want to see Miss Clay again, I know they know that I walk the pathway of Christ. So if I ever left this world, Lord's will, they know I'm on
Right.
my way to the kingdom.
Okay.
So yeah,
All right. And I'm talking about if you just decided, hey, you know what, I'm just gonna walk off the face of it. I'm gonna chill in the Bahamas or something. See you.
yeah.
But specifically in regards to Indianapolis, because that's where I grew up, and it's a lot of things have impacted me there. What areas have you found to be in like desperate need of improvement?
My neighborhood, 42nd and Post Road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, nobody really came. Even when I was a kid, nobody really came out. But one man, his name was Pastor Chad. He picked up mostly the whole Indianapolis of kids from the ghettos. He was the only church that I know that he
Wow.
wasn't even in my neighborhood, his church, and he was always the only person, the only church that came out hands on with us.
Okay. And do you think well, first off, why do you think those areas are so bad? Is there anybody in particular to blame, or is it a combination of things?
It's a combination. It's 50-50. It's the people in the community and it's the people on the outside. So everybody has to take accountability. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you think that government could do anything about it? Do
they
you
can do a
think?
lot.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me started with the government. They actually can do a lot. I'm talking about the big government, not citywide. Like
Right.
I'm talking about the main government. They can do a lot, but the ghettos is designed to be that way.
Yeah, it is. It's designed to hold back the rise of the Black Messiah, is
Yeah.
what has been told to me. Um, and going back to schools, do you think the way schools are run and the culture within plays a role, especially when it comes to our teens and peer pressure, things of that nature?
You think you are you asking? You said, can you say that again?
Do you think the way school so what I'm asking is, do you think like what our teens and peer pressure and things of that nature, the effect that that has on kids, do you think that plays a role in some of the things that are being put out there in the world now? I know you've seen like those types of dynamics in your work in the school system.
Are you asking? Do I think is schools the way that they are due to peer pressure?
Do I think that like the children that are going out there and behaving the way they are, do you think a lot of it is because of peer pressure? Sorry, that
No,
question was worded
no.
weird.
I think a lot of it comes from their own trauma.
Ah,
So yeah,
okay.
I study the brain, so I know how that stuff can break down the mind and
Mhm.
create a lot of behaviors.
Right. And what have you found to be like the concrete definition of trauma? Like, what is trauma? Because a lot of people can't wrap their head around what trauma is.
Trauma is like a kid not having a mama because the mama is on crack, or
Mm-hmm.
the daddy is an alcoholic, or grandma is an alcoholic, or they getting abused at home, no love. They don't grow up in a parental household. They don't know what love feels like. They're always abused. They're in survival. So the brain automatically is gonna break
Right.
down and cause behaviors because they're crying out for help.
Right.
Yeah,
And it's that constant being in fight or flight mode where
yeah,
it's like every single thing, even if it's something that somebody's trying to present to you that's good, it's a battle.
yeah. I mean, I have kids who know that I'm there, but
Mm-hmm.
they do try to push me away to see if I'm gonna move, and that's just more so of this how the brain they're
Right.
functioning right now.
Right. And from the lens of your own trauma, like, do you ever see yourself in any of the kids?
Yeah, if the kids that I draw to the most is where I see myself the most.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Okay. But yeah, no, that I completely understand. So, and now we're gonna go over to black people in general.
yeah.
What should we as a people stop encouraging in our youth?
The behaviors, the streets, the main
Mm-hmm.
thing. Yeah, where I,
Just
in my opinion, because I know even though a lot of us that's black, we don't grow up in the same cultures.
mm-hmm.
So how I grew up is it's a different culture than somebody who's black who grew up in the suburbs. So in my opinion, how I grew up, I would say stop honoring the street code. If
Yeah.
you're a grown man and you got a kid and you're allowing them to sell drugs, you're failing them as a grown man.
Yep.
For real.
And like, if you a grown man and you didn't had kids and you ain't prepared to raise them,
Yeah.
because it's like that's still happening. I got friends right now that have kids and they ain't raising them properly. They ain't taking the initiative. And one even said something stupid like, "If my son ever acts out, I'll just fight him." We got to stop that.
Yeah.
We got to stop that. Fathers fighting their sons, mothers just putting their hands up and just like whatever. We got to stop that.
And then that goes back into that school because now that son is gonna come to school with behaviors.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what do you believe is this is the final question too. What do you believe is the biggest killer of our youth?
What's the biggest killer?
Mhm.
Uh, Probably the system. Because we can't always control the household. The system never gets to know them. They just suspend them or put them out, or they fight against the individuals who do have the gift to help them overcome,
Mhm.
help them become better. So the system is a fail.
The system. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And now I know this was rather short, but do you have any questions for me?
No, not really.
All
Just
right.
chilling.
Well, that's all for today's show, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this conversation and want to see more like this, hit that subscribe, follow, do whatever you got to do so you don't miss it. Dapper Don 1012 on everything: Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, Dapper Don on Facebook. Yeah, y'all know the drill. It'll be linked below. And where can they find you, Miss NaShan?
They can find me everywhere: TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. NaShan Clay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
All right. And of course, I'll link those as well. And please be sure to come right back next Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. for an all-new episode. You don't want to miss it. Peace out.